yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Welcome back to another episode of
The Artful Dodger
podcast. This is Showgays, a movie musical podcast. And this month, or this week, today, this episode, we're talking about Oliver! The 1968 movie musical based on the 1960 film and the 1838 book, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Molly?
Yes.
RJ? Adam, how's everybody doing?
How are we all?
How are we healing? It's a day before the biggest debate of our lives. I'm sure we're all extremely excited to see Kamala Harris and Donald Trump battle in the arena that is philosophy.
Are you going to watch the debate?
Absolutely fuck not. No,
okay.
I have things to do. Like, I don't know, shampoo my hair probably.
I just can't imagine anything happening in that debate that would change the way that I was going to vote. So I just don't.
Yeah, truly. I'm sure I'll see like
myself.
the clips later.
Yeah. We'll get the highlights on X.
I didn't even bother watching we knew how it went, but the Biden-Trump one, I didn't even seek out clips. I was just based on how people talked about it, I don't think I need to see it.
Great. Aside from that, how's everybody doing?
Well, we might get another I'm speaking moment. We'll see.
Oh, from the vice presidential debate 4 years ago. Yeah. Molly.
Allergies are truly kicking my butt, everyone. So apologies that I sound a little bit rough. I went to the pharmacy on Friday and got quite the collection of things to try to deal with this. For now, I sent Rita a picture of 6 different medications that I bought because I cannot handle my life. We're going to be seeing if I can go talk to an allergist in the future because I can't keep living in San Diego like this.
Oh, no.
Is it constant? Is it seasonal?
When I lived in the Midwest, I just had fall allergies. It seems like since moving here, I get it in the spring and fall. And then the fall. So I'm allergic to ragweed, which is like a fall flower. And it's way more intense than it used to be. So, yeah.
Oh, well, maybe you should stop working part-time at the ragweed farm that you
I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do with it, maybe?
It could
that part-time gig you picked up at the ragweed farm? Well, California actually exports its almonds and then ragweeds and then avocado. Those are the three farming exports of California.
California does, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
RJ, are you well? Are you ill?
I'm not ill. We also had a bout of allergies. For us, we just sneeze a lot, but the seasons kind of changed last week. So I think we're getting used to it now. Knock on wood. But it was pretty bad last week where we were just couldn't record anything because we just kept being it was 60 2 days ago. Yeah.
And
the high right now is 81. And that's the hottest it's been. That's the hottest high we've had all week.
Yeah.
So.
All week and it's Monday. Yeah.
It's been a heat wave here. So it's been very hot.
We're having a heat wave.
A tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising. It isn't surprising. Okay. And I'm well too. Okay. I'm doing fine.
Adam takes a nap every single day for 2 hours. Is he well?
Not 2 hours. It's not 2 hours.
When do you take
average?
When I get home from work, just a little 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock moment. Yeah.
And that doesn't mess up your ability to sleep at night?
No, because we record so late anyway for our other stuff. So we end up going to bed at 1 anyway.
Oh. Okay, so it's kind of a biphasic sleep situation.
Yeah.
Ooh, biphasic. Ooh.
Yeah. I think that's what you call it. Yeah. People used to sleep that way. Or
I'm bi. That's what I've always said. I said
You're
I'm
bi?
Yeah. Biphasic. Okay, well, this was really fun. This week I have the challenge. Oh, wait, did we have anything?
The mailbag.
I have to check. I don't remember.
I used to take
all those allergies.
Just forgot.
Comments from the last episode?
Nope.
Oh.
Well, thanks for asking, RJ.
Lucas has written to us an email titled All That Jazz and Stuff. Hey, Showgays, now that we are back on speaking terms, I I wanted to express my appreciation for your Bride and Prejudice episode, which was lovely and emotional for me because it brought back memories of renting the film at Blockbuster with a friend who had recently moved from India to the US. She showed me several Bollywood films on DVD, and I was young and don't remember the titles. In return, I showed her Phantom of the Opera and Moulin Rouge, and those didn't impress her much. So obviously she would get along with Adam. It would be great to cover some legit Bollywood musicals on the show. I just don't know which to recommend. So yeah, we definitely have that in our future plans that we would like to do like a genuine Bollywood.
Yes.
He says, I remember years ago that All That Jazz was free on Tubi or some app, and I turned it on, but I fell asleep 30 minutes into the film. Oops. I mean, I don't blame. It doesn't necessarily grab you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never went back to it, and now it's unavailable to watch online besides the Internet Archive. Yeah, we had to sleuth to find it. When your episode dropped, I knew I had to finish it, so I checked out from the library.
Hey!
We love it. We love it. Support your local library. I traveled 25 miles to the only remaining video store in my city to rent it. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It was actually a great experience. And I also rented Anything Goes from 1956, A Little Night Music from 1977. I've never seen A Little Night Music. Like I've never
seen it either.
Like, watched it
I think that'll also be a library one because it's hard to find too.
Yeah. And an avant-garde Jesus Christ Superstar TV movie from 2000.
Avant-garde.
Yeah.
How is it more avant-garde than the 70s version?
You know, the guard.
But it's like the disciples show up in like a silver bus and they're like, it's just a movie, man. It's very that energy.
Yeah, it's across the universe.
All That Jazz was amazing to finally finish, but I won't be renting it ever again. Yes, I think we all feel that way. Yeah, we're not going to watch it.
It's a one and done for sure.
What a great one.
Yes, Lucas says he saw Fosse Verdon when it aired, so it was wild seeing how many scenes from All That Jazz are depicted with more nuance and perspective in the miniseries. I hope you watch at least the first few episodes and briefly cover it to follow up All That Jazz. You get to see the making of films like Sweet Charity and Cabaret, as well as musical numbers from Damn Yankees. Michelle Williams' performance as Gwen Verdon, R.I.P., is staggering and heartbreaking and still the best part of that show. Fosse's daughter worked on the show, and it doesn't shy away from the dark aspects of his career. Oh, I didn't know that his daughter Fosse Verdon. Yeah. It's still...
Sorry, that's Friedrich.
Okay.
He's a huge Fosse Verdon fan. He wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. It's still a great time and is like MCU Easter eggs galore, but for Broadway nerds. You get a Lin-Manuel Miranda cameo as Roy Schneider that's so campy I cried laughing. Margaret Qualley as Anne Reinking is spectacular in the dance scenes, including the dance with Fosse's daughter that inspired the scene and All That Jazz.
Whoa.
There are also versions of Shirley MacLaine, Cheetah Rivera, Liza Minnelli, Ben Vereen. I'm sorry, I don't know why my brain stumbled on that. Debbie Allen and Neil Simon throughout the miniseries. Thanks for your continued Yes. Thanks for your continued coverage of the cinemusicals on the pod. I love how chaotic and iconic your lineup is. I never know what to expect. Very true. I can't wait for your December 15th Wonka episode. Hopefully you like the movie. It's delightful. Did we promise that it's happening?
Yes, Adam
I did.
Okay.
Adam went on.
Because I'm tired of hearing people ask for
They'll
it.
They'll tell me the calendar. I don't pay attention to it. I also like to be surprised by trying to forget. I try to forget what we planned.
Well, we plan once, after the Showgays. Really? After the Showgays.
Our big planning app,
Yes. Yeah. Rather than going
not
to
app. It's not an app. It's just a chat we have separately.
It's
not a.
That's our one Patreon episode we release once a year. It's just us talking about.
That would be truly the most boring.
And it's a $20.
It's $20 for one.
We always listen to just the audio file of us pulling up Google Doc, and then because I feel like also we like work on a doc together, so we're like not necessarily narrating. We'll be like, I think I'm gonna move this here. Because don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Like that would be the audio.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's 20 for the audio and then 50 for the video.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll make $0.
People are going to be expecting OnlyFans content at those kinds of prices.
Great. I'm so happy to hear from Lucas, one of our stalwarts to support.
We had just one comment on the Gordon commented on the All of That Jazz episode and said that he saw it live in the theaters.
Wow.
And he said he loved the movie.
In its original run.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we should do Sweet Charity at some point. We should do Damn Yankees.
Yeah.
So maybe once we like watch those and get some background on those, then we could like
maybe do an episode or two from Fosse Verdon if there's any ones that have like good musical energy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But that's years away, right? You know what I mean? We've got a packed schedule.
So many chaotic things to choose.
And we're doing this we're doing this forever. This is
as long as there's movie musicals that continue to be made, we promise here on this podcast that come rain, come hail, come sleet, come snow, we will deliver the post to you. All right, I had the challenge to summarize the plot of Oliver in a minute or less.
And my time starts.
And my time,
go ahead.
I don't know. I guess it starts now. Okay. My time starts.
Wait, hold on. Before you even start, why are there 3 summaries?
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to read the first one, then I'm going to tell you.
But is this all going to be a minute?
I don't even think A is going to be a minute, girl. Look at how long it is.
Okay, girl.
And my time starts now. In Victorian England, at a poor workhouse, a young orphan named Oliver Twist dares to ask for a second helping of their daily meal gruel. In a rage, Mr. Bumble, the head of the workhouse, sells him off to a caretaker, but after getting locked up in the cellar, he escapes and makes his way to London. He happens to meet another young boy in a top hat and waistcoat, the Artful Dodger. He welcomes Oliver to London and takes him to Fagin, the head of the gang of ruffians that deals primarily in minor pickpocketing. The next day, Oliver is off on his first hit, but is quickly caught and taken in front of the magistrate, but he is let go when the owner of the shop assures the court of Oliver's innocence. The man who had accused him, Mr. Brownlow, takes him in due to Oliver not having anywhere to go. This causes concern for Fagin and his fellow thief Bill Sykes, as they fear Oliver knows too much about Fagin and his gang and might rat them out. So they come up with a plan for Nancy, Sykes' girlfriend, to steal him back, which eventually happens after a few days when Oliver is sent on an errand into town alone. Sykes decides Oliver will be perfect due to his small size to help break into a wealthy home, but Oliver causes the owners to wake up and chase the thieves out, narrowly escaping. In the meantime, due to her own guilt, Nancy has made a deal with Mr. Brownlow to reunite him with Oliver, as Mr. Brownlow has realized that Oliver is actually his great nephew. She manages to sneak Oliver away from Sykes from under his nose, but just as she's giving Oliver a hug goodbye, she's caught by Sykes and bludgeoned to death. Sykes' dog Bullseye leads the growing mob looking for Sykes right to him, which leads to the police shooting him dead. Oliver is reunited with Mr. Brownlow while Fagin and Dodger dance off together into the sunset, having not changed their ways at all.
Okay, it's like a minute and a half.
Okay. So I knew that was going to be long. So in option B, this is what I fed to ChatGPT. And I said, just make this shorter for me. And this is how short it could have been.
Okay.
In Victorian England, orphan Oliver Twist is sold into servitude after asking for more food. He escapes and joins a gang of young pickpockets. After being caught and released, he is taken in by a kind man. However, his past haunts him and he is kidnapped by his former gang. With the help of a sympathetic gang member, Oliver escapes and is reunited with his true family. Meanwhile, the gang's leader is killed and the gang continues their criminal ways.
It's giving. I didn't read the assignment, but I'm going to write, but I did read the Wikipedia plot summary, so I'm not giving you specific names.
Yeah, I was going to say the problem is the lack of names, because I feel like when we do the summary, this is when I write the summaries, I always feel like I have to emphasize introducing all the characters that are going to come up in our discussion. So it's like a kind man takes him in is like, that's a lot of missing information. Yeah.
So that was me telling ChatGPT. It was not ChatGPT, by the way. It was
Google's?
Whatever Google's is. I don't know what it's called.
Gemini
or whatever. Gemini.
Yeah. So that was me saying, here's what I wrote. Please please shorten it. So that was what they gave me. Then I was like, oh, well, it's just Oliver. So why don't I just ask it to give me a summary of Oliver? This is option C. The story revolves around young Oliver Twist, an orphan living in a harsh workhouse. Desperate for food, he asks for more gruel and is sold to a funeral undertaker. After escaping, Oliver wanders to London, where he meets the Artful Dodger, who introduces him to Fagin, the leader of a gang of pickpockets. Oliver is drawn into the gang's criminal activities, but yearns for a better life. He is eventually caught and taken in by a kind gentleman, Mr. Brownlow. However, Fagin's gang tries to kidnap Oliver back. Through a series of adventures, Oliver discovers his true identity and is reunited with his long-lost family. The film concludes with a triumphant musical number as Oliver and his loved ones celebrate their newfound happiness.
Where was that?
When did that happen?
When did that happen? I don't remember a triumphant musical number.
There's a triumphant musical number of Fagin and Dodger, and then we see Oliver hug Mr. Brownlow. I feel like also, there's no Sykes and Nancy
Sykes.
who are pretty essential to it.
They make it like Fagin is like the big bad, or like he's the reason.
Also, Oliver
who hates women more, Sykes or ChatGPT? That's the real question.
Oliver wanders to London sounds a little too like
he just happened upon it.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
he tripped and fell into London.
Great. Well, that was really fun. I'm glad we went on that really.
Adam, it feels like you have some sort of like, I don't know, feelings with ChatGPT. Do you have, some
hot takes?
I really don't. I do copywriting technically for like real estate stuff for my job. And I do not like AI, so I don't use it. It's not like, I feel like maybe it is like a bit of like a moral, not even moral, but just like I'm trying to be whatever. I know I could make my job way easier if I just use it, but I don't, and I don't like to use it. But this past week, I had written remarks for a 1-bedroom rental in Lakeview. And we posted it. And then a couple days later, the client was like, this seems like really generic and it was written by AI. Can we redo it? And I was like, so mad because I was like, I just wrote that and you own a 1-bedroom apartment that is not like it is generic. Not significant in any way, shape, or form. Let's be serious. And it's a rental. So I fed it to ChatGPT and I was like, please rewrite this. And so I just copied what ChatGPT
So they thought it seemed like it was by AI. So then you actually used AI to make them feel like it wasn't by AI. Wow.
Yeah. It's a real double cross. What? Real roll. How the turns have tabled. Yeah. Okay. That's my issue with ChatGPT. I thought you were going to ask Adam. It seems like you have a lot of feelings about Oliver.
Do you have a lot of feelings about Oliver, Adam?
I do, because I've been in Oliver. It was my second musical. It was my third musical I was ever in.
Wow.
Isn't this cool?
But you were in Oliver?
Well, this is the tea, girl. Let's talk about the
tea, honey.
So, the first musical
Rigamorous? Was it rigged?
No, I rigged myself, diva.
Oh, no.
So, the first musical I was ever in was The Sound of Music. My sister was in high school and they were doing The Sound of Music, and I had obviously grown up watching it, and they needed the Von Trapps. So my sister, and I'd already been in like a couple like school plays, like not real, but it was very clear that I had a big stage presence, let's say.
That's what they said for loud kids. That's what they
called it.
That's what we called it in the 90s. Yeah.
So then I did Sound of Music. I was Kurt, and I was so little at the time that I had to they had to reorder the children. I had to be after Gretel, and I still was like, it went Gretel, and then I was shorter than Gretel, and then it went up from there because I was so small. But that summer, the South Bend Civic Theater, which was like the community theater in South Bend, they did Music Man. So then I auditioned and I was Winthrop, and it was double cast. So I had me and another kid were Winthrop. We had a great time.
And where's that kid now? Now hosting a Cinemusical podcast, I'm sure.
I would be shocked if he was. I don't even remember what his name was. It was like first grade. And then I was like, oh, this is what I like doing. And mom was like, okay, well, we can find other things for you to do. The next summer after Music Man, they were doing Oliver. So I auditioned, and mom had rented Oliver, the movie, for me to watch so I could know what it was about. And we bought the CD so I could listen to the songs. And mom was like, you could be Oliver. And I was like, because obviously I'd already been Winthrop, so I can do I can whatever. I can talk in front of people and not freak out. So I was like, yeah, but the Artful Dodger, though.
The Artful Dodger the role, right. Mother.
And she was like, no, I know, but I think you should go for Oliver because you're gay. But I was that's not what my mom said. She's very clearly like, I think you have a different energy than the Artful Dodger. And I was like, no. So I got called back. They called me back for Oliver and the Artful Dodger. And I threw my callback for Oliver. And I tried so hard for Dodger, and I did not get it. And then I obviously didn't get Oliver either.
Yeah.
So then I was just in the chorus, which is great because there's so many kids, right? And the kids are in the first song. And then I was also in Fagan's Gang, and they get a bunch of songs in the first half of the show. So it's a really fun show for a kid to do. Kind of like Matilda would be. So I have a very interesting relationship with the show because I'm always like, I should have just been Oliver because I feel like I would have been fine. But then watching this movie I was like, God, he's such a drip. Who cares about Oliver? Yeah. What a boring character.
He just lets life pass by. Yeah.
You honestly did. Oh, I understand your regret. Don't throw your callbacks, kids. But I feel like you probably had more fun being in the chorus than being Oliver.
Yeah.
The only real regret is that I I really like the song "Where Is Love." That's like it's like a really good song that I think is very sweet. So that's sad that I didn't get to sing that, but
I honestly, as like a theater kid who was never like a fantastic singer, so I was always in the chorus in musicals, eventually came around to just like, you know what? That's actually the best role to have in musicals. You get to do all the best numbers. You get to like chill out for a lot of the time. You get to hang out with all your friends. It's like totally the way to go.
You don't have to stress out about lines or like be in like high stress situations. You're just, one of the girls in the back.
Yeah. And it was like South Bend Civic did like a big summer musical every year. We performed at the Morris. RJ's been to it. It's like the big theater downtown that we've seen shows at. And it was like always really exciting because they would pick obviously like your very classic big chorus heavy
people
musicals.
Pleasers, yeah.
So it's like I got to be in Fiddler because of them. I got to like be in Oklahoma. I got to be in like all these other ones that are just like, do you need a chorus of 30 kids? No. But like, isn't it fun to have them run out for a song and then like they just sit in the back in the dressing room and watch like Mrs. Doubtfire on their little portable DVD player the rest of the show? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I have really fond memories of this time of my life. But I was not Oliver. I was only chorus kid number, 40 or whatever. But I do have a lot of affection for the show. I do think it's good. So I'm very excited to talk about it. And I think this was one that I had suggested on our schedule. Molly doesn't remember.
I remember. Sorry.
RJ.
So there was a moment where we were watching the movie and he started singing Where Is Love? And I sang this once as a child in like a talent show, summer camp type of situation. I was in like this theater, like summer class that met once a week on Fridays. And we like did scales and then learned a song and we had like a huge like showing. And I remember this was the song and I had the solo in the beginning part, and then it became like a choral number with a bunch of kids.
After like first verse.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, I've sung this song before. So that was that. And then, American Idol. Have you heard of the show? There's well, I was like, where have I heard As Long As He Needs Me before? And I was like, oh, American Idol. It's just like a staple for anyone that has like a belty voice in American Idol to sing it on like show tunes night. So,
I mean, the idea that the next great American star is going to be a person who like sings a show tunes number is so funny to me now in 2024.
But I mean, if you think about it a lot,
it makes sense from like 2003 when it started or whatever, 2001.
Yeah, like just the early 2000s where it was like we just wanted power vocals. And now it's like vibes.
It's all contemporary.
Yeah, now it's like vibes. You got to have like a interesting voice. Yeah. You got to be like a singer-songwriter. But back in the day, you were like, I was a lounge singer.
Bette Midler.
Yes. Yeah. So I knew the song from that. Melinda Doolittle sang it. And
season 6.
Yes. She was iconic. But other than that, I had just like known like Consider Yourself. I just knew a lot of the songs in Act 2. I was like, okay, these are new. I've never heard these before. But yeah. Consider Yourself. I was like, I don't know why I know the song, but I just do. I just like have absorbed it in culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, Adam showed me the clip.
Yeah. He like, what's his name? Who's like the nerdy one?
Oh, Boyle.
Boyle is like in charge of like playing songs in the car.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh my God. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Was it my turn?
Heavy breasts. Yeah. We know about your love for Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I'm not going to talk about that. Is it my turn to talk about Oliver?
Yes. What's your relationship?
Okay. I definitely watched this movie as a kid. It was like part of the rotation of classic movie musicals that we watched. I'm pretty sure I learned both Consider Yourself and I Do Anything when I did do voice lessons in like 7th and 8th grade. And so since they're like songs where kids are singing, they were like good ones to pull from for that. And also I was going to say, Consider Yourself that I can't now watch that number without also thinking about the Every Sperm is Sacred Monty Python number from The Meaning of Life. The last and most visceral reaction, though, or like association, the most visceral association I have with Oliver is that when I was in elementary school.
What was that supposed to be like? I'm sorry. Was that like Consider Yourself the end of the finale?
Where they're all
okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Okay, the most visceral association I have with Oliver, though, is when I was a kid, my neighbor, who I would walk home with, was in the 8th grade play in Oliver, and she played Nancy. And I did not know what happens to Nancy. And so
this wasn't Oliver Jr.
It was not Oliver Jr. I mean, they did it. I remember they did it like obviously off stage, but like the shadow, an outline of a shadow.
Yeah.
And it like screwed me up a little bit. Like it was like upsetting because I was like, I know her and I'm watching like, yeah. So it was, that was a little much.
And is that when you became a feminist?
No, I still, I think I'm still kind of not sure if
I'm figuring it out.
I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
I think this bell hook says some good points I'm looking into. Yeah. Great. Well, let's talk about Oliver. Okay. So Oliver Twist, or The Parish Boy's Progress, was a serialized, obviously it's Charles Dickens, so it's serialized. It was written from 1837 to 1839. The first volume officially was like published and printed in 1838, and it was published in 3 different volumes as a set to finish the whole story. It's by Charles Dickens. Its themes explore, it's a satirization. And by satirization, we mean like the satire, like exposing the societal whatever. It's like, it's not like, haha, isn't this fun? It's not Saturday Night Live.
The tone is comedic. Yeah.
Right. It explores the themes of poverty with the workhouses, social class with life of crime. And it also has like fairy tale elements, which are like how good and kind and charitable Oliver Twist himself is, even in the face of all this like adversity. I was going to say advertisements. Even in the face of advertisement, even in the face of marketing, he's still in the original book. Fagin is really the overarching villain of the whole thing, and there are also anti-Semitic accusations that have been lobbed at this book.
I wanted to give you some facts about the anti-Semitism, but
so I'll talk about. Let me talk about this, and we'll go back to there is this wild part I saw. There was like in people discussing the book, contemporaries at the time didn't understand how he made Nancy, quote, a whoring, thieving slut of the streets, a real quote. And she had a reversal of how she had a miraculous reversal of character at the end. Like, how could you make it seem like this person at the lowest rungs of society could like have a conscience,
be a good person also.
And Charles Dickens, I don't even know how to good retort. I wouldn't say that necessarily, because his reply was more like, you know how like at the end of a cup of water, there's like 1 or 2 drops left. Like those were the little bits of.
It's giving Ross Matthews. Ross Matthews trying to give a note.
A critique.
Do you remember that feeling when you were a little kid? That was you up there.
But does she do other things in the novel other than just is a sex worker and has a relationship with Bill Sikes without being married to him?
She is more. She definitely grew up with Fagin. She's a Fagin kid.
Contemporary.
Okay.
Oh, she was one of the kids.
She was one of the kids originally. And she has a lot more to do with like taking Oliver back, and there's like more that happens.
Okay.
The book is way longer. Obviously,
right,
there's a bunch that's cut for the musical, but she does like bad stuff. But yes, it is mostly just the fact that she dares to be a woman is really the crux of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the book, everyone basically gets their comeuppance. So Fagin, as we know, dies. Nancy, unfortunately, is murdered.
Sikes dies?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sikes dies. Fagin is hung. And then Artful Dodger gets sent to the penal colony in Australia.
Ooh.
So, and there's other characters who aren't in the show. There's a character named Monks, I think is his name. And he's like Oliver's half brother. And he's like trying to make sure that nobody finds out about Oliver's real heritage because he wants to take Oliver's half of the inheritance for himself, blah, 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 blah. He ends up going to Oliver is like out of the charitable kindness of Oliver's heart. He gives him the inheritance. And then the kid like goes to America and ends up in a life of crime again and then dies in America. So everyone dies at the end of Oliver because they were all bad to Oliver, and everyone who was good to Oliver lives. So that's the moral of the story: is be nice. Let's talk about anti-Semitism.
Yeah, well, actually, I want to start with this. At what point did you realize that Fagin is Jewish?
Okay, so I, having been in the show before, did not know Fagin was Jewish, which is wild because I was in it. But also I was like in second grade, so like I wouldn't have known. And also I don't even know if I could have told you what a Jewish person was in second grade, to be quite honest. So in this watching of the film, it was not until his song, I can't remember what it's called. Reviewing the Situation. I am reviewing the situation, which is a great song. It's like a perfect like character actor song. It's such a
it gives me like Every Little Piece in Pete's Dragon.
It does.
It's a little
I love and just like any like I'm making a decision song. Like just a song that is just us getting to see the character making a choice is great.
There's like it's a little oh my god apparatus. What is the name?
Gilbert and Sullivan?
Yes, it's a little bit Gilbert and Sullivan-y.
Yeah, because he goes through like 3 different of like how could my life be from now on, and then he talks himself out of turning it. The reason I realized he was Jewish is because the scoring of the song is very like deedle diddle deedle diddle, and I was like,
it's very Fiddler, right?
It's very Fiddler, and obviously like that's baked into like the Eastern European kind of like Jewish heritage. So I was like, oh, I didn't really like gather that, because I've never read Oliver Twist. I've never even seen a movie of like just Oliver Twist. Like my only knowledge of this IP is through this musical.
Okay.
And so we're going to talk about obviously the differences between Fagin and this musical versus the book.
Yeah.
Is that when you realized it?
That was also when I realized it. So I also had seen this musical obviously multiple times, and I had never thought about it. And yeah, I mean, I'm almost of two minds about like my lack of awareness of anti-Semitism. Like, obviously, I don't believe that like the best way to stop kids from being like biased and racist is to like not tell them about racism, right? But like, I do feel genuinely like with anti-Semitism specifically is one example where it's like, I just like did it. I just like wasn't aware of it as a child. And then I think it was kind of good in that I didn't pick up on stereotypes sometimes because of it, which is like good that I didn't then have stereotypes about real Jewish people, but it's also bad to not be able to read a text and be like, wait, that's problematic. And it's so interesting to me. Then when so literally, as that song was happening, I was like, this is seeming very Tevye. Oh my God, wait a second. This guy who's been like cackling over his gold the whole time, is he Jewish? And then I looked up the Wikipedia page, and it was like a whole section of like accusations of anti-Semitism that was like, one person was quoted saying like the most anti-Semitic character in all of English literature. And I was like, wow, I've been missing some context. So, but here's a really epic story about it. So, as you said, it was a serialized novel. He was publishing it in parts. So in the first like section of it, Fagin is introduced as just the Jew. He is referred to as just the Jew hundreds of times, or like 256 times he is called the Jew. Yes. However, in the process of publishing it, Dickens got a letter from a Jewish woman named Eliza Davis, who is a mother of 10. They knew each other because she bought his house from him. So like not a person that was like a dear friend or anything, but like she had his contact information, and she just was like, I can't stand for this. She wrote him a letter telling him how problematic this was. I think this is a beautiful quote. Charles Dickens, the large-hearted, whose works plead so eloquently and so nobly for the oppressed of his country, has encouraged a vile... Well, sorry. No, that part's not the beautiful part. That's bad.
I love that. This is such a beautiful quote of how to put a man down. Oh, okay. No, this was the part that I thought was good. So I'm reading in part from the Jewish Chronicle, which is a newspaper, and that they quote themselves as saying why the Jew alone should be excluded from the sympathizing heart of this great author and powerful friend of the oppressed. So she was, the point is that she played on a similar thing of like, hey, your whole deal is like, you really like bring a sympathetic eye to people who are looked down on in society, and you for some reason cannot bring that same eye to Jewish people specifically. So apparently at first he kind of pushed back. It said on Wikipedia that he claimed like, just unfortunately at the time a lot of the criminals were Jewish, and like that's just something I can't do anything about.
And then they said that he goy-splained to her, which I think is a great term. I must
really
take
funny.
leave to say that if there be any, I'm sorry, my internet is like loading ads and it's skipping around. Okay. I must take leave to say that if there be any general feeling on the part of the intelligent Jewish people that I have done them what you describe as a great wrong, then they are far less sensible, far less just, and far less good-tempered people than I have always supposed them to be. So basically like, hey, if you're being offended by this, that means like, I guess you're not as smart as I thought you were, because like you shouldn't, obviously you shouldn't take offense to it. However, even though at first he tried to defend himself, she clearly changed his mind because he started in subsequent volumes to not refer to Fagin this way anymore. So like he's still like, he's been well established as Jewish at that point. He's not going to be able to do anything about that and still is the villain of the novel. But he does actually soften he takes out the focus on Fagin's ethnicity and makes it just about him as a character. And then he later wrote his last novel, I believe, has a character named Raya in his novel Our Mutual Friend, which was like a very saintly Jewish character. And so people speculate that this experience caused him to feel motivated to write a character that was also a good Jewish person, to show like, I'm not saying that all Jewish people are like Fagin, essentially. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating because my experience, like I said, like is the musical. And I think like this character in this musical is like truly one of the greats. Like it's this, you have so much to chew on as Fagin in this. And so I was like, when I was finding that out, I was like, oh boy, because there's like satanic imagery. Like the first time he appears in the book, he's like holding the poker from the fire and he's like
supposed to be the devil,
kind of like devil imagery there. Like there's like a lot. He doesn't pray. They go to visit him before he's like hanged. Oliver and Mr. Brownlow go to visit him in the jail the night before he's hanged, and he doesn't like pray before he's like off to be hung, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like a lot of like, they're not Christian, and they're not like blah, blah, blah. And obviously like Christianity is a running theme in Dickens novels. Like he is Anglican. He's an Anglican writer, but.
So then this also made me curious if Ron Moody, who played him on stage and then plays him in the movie, I said, oh, okay, I wonder if he was Jewish as well. So Ron Moody was born Ron Mudnik. His father was a Russian Jew and his mother was a Lithuanian Jew, and he was quoted as saying, I'm 100% Jewish, totally kosher. So like making light of like, yeah, I'm proud of being Jewish, but then he also legally changed his surname to Moody in 1930 to make it anglicized. So he is a Jewish person playing this role. I also learned from this Jewish Chronicle article that the most controversial film adaptation happened in 1948, which starred Alec Guinness as Fagin with a large prosthetic nose. It says this Fagin was unremittingly awful and coming out just 3 years after the worst excesses of the Holocaust had been exposed and unsurprisingly deemed incredibly insensitive. So yeah, it
wasn't allowed to screen in America for like 3 years. They had to like recut and take a lot of it out, actually.
Yeah.
The 48 version.
Now, Lionel Bart.
Yes. Okay, good.
Okay,
I was gonna
who
make sure
wrote
you
Oliver is himself Jewish. So, and this article says like Fagin has more humanity, and certainly like he is a villain you love to hate in the musical for sure. I don't know that he's like, he's humanized, I guess, because he's pretty kind to the children. Like he doesn't seem overly cruel or anything like that, but he's also not like he is just a bad guy ultimately. Yeah. And I just think it's really interesting, like why maybe from Bart's perspective, the Jewishness is like baked in. Everybody knows this already, blah, blah, blah. But like from my perspective, watching it now, having not clocked the ethnicity of the character earlier, watching it, I feel like if they hadn't done the scoring to consider the situation, or what's it called?
Reviewing the situation. If they hadn't put such clearly Jewish music with reviewing the situation, I feel like there wouldn't really be any reference to Fagin's ethnicity. Now, like, I guess you could argue then you're just whitewashing a character, but also it's like the scoring that makes it clearly Jewish is like over his villain song specifically too. So like, I'm just really curious about the thought process of the people writing the musical to choose to put it forward in just that moment. But like, we don't have any other moments in the musical that necessarily tell us Fagin's ethnicity. Right. Yeah. So like, I would love to have been like a fly on the wall for that conversation. If it even happened, like how did that come about? Yeah, it's a great question. I couldn't find anything from Lionel as talking about like changing Fagin or like emphasizing that aspect of his character right then.
I was trying to find like, I mean, I didn't look that hard. I'm sure if I like devoted a full day to it, I could find something about it. But like, I was surprised as I was reading stuff about the character. So much of it was focused on the novel. I mean, I get that the novel's more famous than the musical, but like, I was surprised I couldn't find more references to like, and then how has it been chosen to like put forward or to pull back in different adaptations of it, including the musical, which I would think is like, maybe this is my musical theater kid bias, but like I would think the musical is probably the second biggest version of the novel would be the most popular version of the story, and then probably the musical. So maybe that's
I don't know if there's I can't think of like an Oliver Twist movie
that's like the Oliver Twist. Yeah,
right. But I don't know if there's like a masterpiece classic like British thing that like a lot of people look to either.
But so even let's say that there's like one really well thought of adaptation, but like so the musical's got to be number 3. I mean, it's a big popular musical. It's not an obscure version of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's funny to me that there's not more analysis that I could find easily about specifically how Fagin being Jewish is treated in this musical.
Yeah. Whenever it's brought up, it's just talked about how it's like, it's impressive that they took something so clearly anti-Semitic in the original novel and were able to make it. I mean, the fact that they just change the musical just changes the major villain to Sykes. Like it just, it really, he becomes like a lackey to Sykes almost, even though in the book, he's really running the show. He's the reason that Nancy dies because the guy Monks that I was talking about, he's the one who's like, oh, I think he finds out Nancy has been talking to Brownlow. So he tells Fagin and Fagin's like, oh, I know if I tell Sykes, he's going to freak out. And so he tells him so that he kills her.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean he's not good in the book.
Yeah. It does make sense that like dramatically you have like the mastermind who's running the gang of kids who's got Sykes as more of like his, not guard dog necessarily, but like attack dog, right? Like that, I guess that does make more dramatic sense than the way that Fagin is portrayed in this. But
it's also interesting to think about, I mean, sorry, but like the anti-Semitic trope of like, oh, there's someone pulling, it's always like a cabal of
there's always
strings. And it's like, Jesus, how did this,
there's always a bigger plot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, no.
Literally thousands of years of this.
Literally thousands of years that we're not going to go over today, but it's important to know. And I think it's good to talk about for sure. Let's talk about the musical. So Oliver comes out in 1960 on the West End. Music, lyrics, and the book are all by Lionel Bart. So he is completely the sole creator of this work, basically. Yeah. It's based on Oliver Twist. There's a 60 West End version. Then it goes to Broadway in 62. 68 is the film adaptation. We get a West End revival in 77, an 84 revival on Broadway, a West End revival in 94, a West End revival in 09, and then it's going back to the West End West End this year in 2024. It's supposed to open by the end of the year. So this is a huge.
The Brits love him.
The Brits love him.
Love little Oliver.
At the Tonys, I guess when it debuted in 1960 on the West End, the Olivier's I don't think existed yet. So the first awards it was officially nominated for were the Tonys in 1962. It was nominated for Best Musical, Best Performance by a Leading Actor in a Musical for Fagin, Best Performance by a Leading Actress in a Musical for Nancy, Best Performance by a Featured Actor. I think that was Artful Dodger. Best Author of a Musical, Lionel Bart. Best Producer of a Musical, Best Direction of a Musical. And then it won Best Score, Best Conductor, and Best Seating Design. But obviously a bunch of nominations. There are 3 songs that have been cut for the film. I Shall Scream, which is a song between Bumble and the widow Crowley, who's the woman at the workhouse.
Okay.
He's like flirting with her. They're not married at the beginning of the play, and then they have this, and then by the time you see them again in Act 2, they've got
that makes sense because I was like, oh, I didn't clock that they were married.
Yeah.
When they come at the end.
A song called That's Your Funeral, which is the Undertaker song that they sing to Oliver when he works for the little Undertaker. It's like the 3rd song on the show. And then a song called My Name, which is Sykes's song when he enters for the first time. Sykes does not come in until Act 2. His first entrance is Act 2.
Wow.
which I think is cool. I like when they kind of do stuff like that. But yeah, so those 3 songs are cut. I would say probably
Sykes
the best.
did not sing at all in this movie.
I don't think
right?
he
Sykes does not sing at all.
No.
And I can't wait to talk about it. There is a sequel that someone wrote to Oliver called Dodger, also with an exclamation
This is an
point.
official canonical sequel or like a fringe type?
I don't know if it's comedic, but it's
The exclamation point really throws me off because it does give comedic,
it's musical theater.
but it's music. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is Oliver exclamation point. So
It's a sequel set 7 years later in the Australian penal colony, and he has a romantic interlude with the character named Bet, who is Nancy's friend that's in the musical. In case you remember, there's one other
the
girl.
other
that gets
girl.
lines.
Oh, the like brunettes.
Yeah.
The one who was roasting chestnuts.
Yes. And then
Oh yeah.
Lionel Bart, the creator of this piece, sold the rights for £350 to Max Bygraves because he had become addicted to drugs and had like lost all his money. And so he sold his rights, and it was like his rights in perpetuity. Like there's like no claim to Max Bygraves, who later sold it again for £250,000.
Whoa.
wait. He sold it. Say those numbers again. Bart sold it to him for how much?
350. Period.
Just 350
0.
period.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I
And
think
then that
I
guy later
just
sold it for
added the
250,000.
1,000 in my head.
Yeah, I
was
just
like, it has to
assumed,
be
yeah.
that. Wow.
Mhm. It's so sad.
Oof.
I think he ended up like sobering up, and he died in like I think the 90s. But that's
That's
rough.
sad.
And then the other big change from the musical to
The movie.
the movie musical is that in the show he is the grandson of Brownlow, not the great nephew of Brownlow. But in the book, he's not actually related to Brownlow. He's related to another character, who the character being the people who own the house that he breaks into with Sykes. But
Yeah.
that doesn't
Why
matter.
add additional layers? Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
Right. That's like the twist in Oliver Twist. That's why it's called Oliver Twist. Because Oliver Twist is a like if you said it with a British accent, it's all of a twist. All of a twist.
It's Courtney Act.
Courtney Act. That's crazy though, to like sell a book on like there's going to be a twist in this.
There will be a twist. Yeah.
Slay.
Let's go
The
back
real
to
M.
that.
Night of his day.
Yeah.
That's what they've always said about Charles Dickens. So then this movie is directed by Carol Reed. Screenplay is by screenplay is by Vernon Harris. Based on the musical and the book. Produced by John Wolfe. Starring Ron Moody as Fagin, Oliver Reed as Sykes. Oliver Reed is Carol Reed's nephew. Harry Secombe, who is a British comedian, is Bumble. Nancy is played by Shawnee Wallace. Oliver is played by Mark Lester, and Dodger is played by Jack Wilde. The cinematography is by Oswald Morris. It is edited by Ralph Kemplin. Music and lyrics by Lionel Bart. Additional scoring by John Green. Not that one.
Not our beloved John Green.
Production company is Romulus Films. It's distributed by Columbia Pictures. It was released on September 26, 1968. Its running time is 153 minutes. Its budget was $10 million, and it made $40 million at the box office.
Wow.
I found this quote from Ron Moody talking about playing Fagin. Mm-hmm. When it was first proposed that he play Fagin, he felt that the character was, quote, pretty vicious and unpleasant. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to perpetuate what I considered to be an unfair, unpleasant image of Jewish people, end quote. Mm-hmm. He came to realize, quote, that the only way to play Fagin was to forget Dickens and create a clown. And I used every trick that I could think of to take Fagin away from Dickens' concept and bring it into more of an entertainment situation, end quote. And I think he did it.
He did. He does a really good job.
So at the Oscars, this is nominated for a bunch of stuff. It is nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it wins 1, 2, 3, 5 of them, and then is honorarily given another Oscar.
Wow.
So it is nominated for Best Film Editing, Best Costume Design, Best Cinematography, Best Screenplay based on material from another medium, so adapted screenplay. Best Supporting Actor for Jack Wilde, who plays the Dodger, and Best Actor Ron Moody is also nominated.
Wow.
It wins Best Sound, Best Score of a Musical Picture, Original or Adaptation, Best Art Direction, Best Director, and Best Picture. This is the last musical Best Picture winner until Chicago in 2002.
Yeah.
Wow. What year was it again?
This is 68.
And then Dolly is 69.
And Dolly 69.
It was so funny to watch this and thinking about like the box office and the Academy Awards and everything. And I can just like feel the sensation of people like watching this and being like, yes. And then they see Dolly and they're like, too much of this now. I am sick of this.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down. Yeah.
And then, so the honorary Academy Award it's given is to Anna White, who did the choreography for the film. And this is, they've only ever not only, but when the Academy has given honorary Oscars, a lot of them have been to choreographers. Jerome Robbins has gotten an honorary Oscar. Anna White. There was another person. I don't remember who off the top of my head. I apologize. But I thought it's interesting because I feel like, I don't know if we've talked about it, but I know I've talked about it before in general that I think there should be a Best Choreography Oscar probably. I guess maybe not anymore because there's not a
that's the thing. It's not a guarantee.
At this point in time, there should have been a choreography Oscar.
But couldn't you just like not have that award that year if you don't have any nominees in your shortlist? Like Aaron Tveit being the only actor.
But then I think that what about a year when there's only one person? Like, I think what you would have to do is be like, every 5 years, we're going to have a best choreographer and we'll consider the movies from the past 5 years to give it or something.
Yeah. I think it's also weird that there's no stunt Oscar because
that's crazy.
Well, I was gonna say, do they like combine it? And
not even if they're like aren't there like technical Oscars that aren't part of?
No, there's technical Emmys, but they're not technical Oscars.
Oh, okay.
I think they do.
There are only 24 Oscars given. It's all in the
only stunt I think is through SAG. They have a stunt ensemble.
Yeah, SAG has a stunt award. And then I think the other one that people talk about a lot that should be an Oscar is probably casting. I think casting is the other one that people talk about.
That one is interesting though, because it's a lot of like the same casting players that cast like these big movies. So
Allison Jones,
the main one. So
yeah, but we're not gonna, that's not interesting to talk about. So other things, the owl was real. Guys,
Adam and I were fully like dissecting, reading Reddit threads because people were confused.
RJ was convinced.
I was convinced it was.
I thought it looked animatronic-y as well.
Yeah.
But I guess I was moving like a
weird,
stilted way, right? Yeah. I almost said jilted way. That would be very different.
When Carol Reed would shout action, the owl would spin its head around 180 degrees
to look at
huh? Which is really funny.
Owls are scary, girl.
Yeah, if you see it up close, because they're birds of prey, so they've got those like big talons and everything.
Apparently, the reaction shot of Oliver when he sees Fagin take out the box and find the like treasure inside when he's like spying on him, basically. Carol Reed didn't think that his reaction was big enough, so they secretly gave Moody a white rabbit to pull out of the box just to like give him something to react to, be like, oh, and that's the shot they used for the movie, I guess. I could not tell you what specifically it looked like, to be honest, but
the way you were telling that anecdote, I was like, did they hit this child? Like nothing would surprise me from back in the 60s. I don't know.
No, but it does remind me of the things we like when they do that for kids where they want to get like a genuine reaction, so but they're good thing. It's not like we're going to scream at a child to make them like cry or whatever, but it's like, we're going to show them the chocolate room from Willy Wonka for the first time in the scene or whatever. The kid who played Jack Wilde, who played Artful Dodger, how old do you think he is?
I looked up that the guy who played Oliver was 10. So I'm going to say also 10, but I'm guessing I'm going to be wrong.
He's 16.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with his performance, but I guess that I mean,
not anymore because you're like,
it's still it would be a great performance even if he was an adult, but like some of the ease with the lines and the stage presence and stuff makes a bit more sense if he's 16 years old. Right, he just was a late bloomer.
Yeah, he's actually shorter than Mark he was shorter than Mark, who played Oliver at the time, but they gave him lifts in his shoes so he could be the same height.
Whoa.
Wow.
Did he even look? How did he end up? Was he just like a little taller How did it even out?
He was just a little bit taller.
He was just a little bit taller, right?
Yeah. He apparently, so he was nominated for the Oscar, like I said. Jack Albertson, who that year won the Best Supporting Actor Academy Award, went up to Wilde at the Oscars and apologized for winning because he thought Wilde was so good as the Artful Dodger that he should have won. Which I think is also very sweet. It's like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That's very nice. This is also the year that, by the way, that Barbara Streisand and Katharine Hepburn tie for Best Actress.
It's a tie.
So, yeah. So that means Funny Girl had come out the same year.
And who were the other Best Pictures?
Funny Girl, The Lion in Winter, Rachel, and Romeo and Juliet.
I didn't even know there was a Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, I think, is that the one that we watched
that's
it?
That's the 68 Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, the Zac Efron looking guy. Yeah, that high school was watched. Yeah.
The butt.
The Zac Efron ancestor. Yeah.
It is funny because Oliver, Lion in Winter, Romeo and Juliet, this is like peak America being in its full Anglophile era where it's like fascinated by anything coming out of England. So anyway, that's fun. Oliver singing is dubbed. It is dubbed by the music director's daughter. Apparently, they had like 2 kids that they tried, and they just felt like their voices didn't match what he looked like. So then they just used Kathy Green, is who is doing Oliver.
Good for you, Kathy.
The cast rehearsed for 6 months before making this film, which is insane, and I think really pays off because it's really well done.
It's like they've been like it felt like they took the West End version, like this was like the West End cast or whatever that they just took.
Mark Lester, who plays Oliver, is the godfather of Michael Jackson's children.
Whoa.
Rumors also abound, notably not denied by Lester, that he is also their biological father.
Oh, okay.
So that's alleged. That's all alleged.
That's alleged. We don't know anything about
Paris's father up there?
We don't know anything about that.
And then my final fun fact, because Molly, I think, is going to like this one. The dog who plays Bullseye, his tail had to be taped down for most of the movie because he was so excited that he wouldn't stop wagging his tail. So they had to tape it between his. They had to tuck.
They had to tuck her.
They had to tuck it. I am curious how they did like the makeup to make the dog look like beaten,
scarred.
Basically. Yeah. But I guess basically the same as you do makeup as on a person. But yeah, the dog made me really sad when they like zoom in on him and you like realize how much Sykes takes out his anger on the dog.
I know.
Yeah.
I think Bullseye, the visual of Bullseye is such a good showing without telling of like his character. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yes. They show it actually in acting, in dog acting classes as like, this is what I mean when I say
really reach into yourself to pull out that performance. Okay, let's move on. All right. So, Molly, any thoughts about Oliver?
Since you were the first who texted us.
Since you watched it first.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah. Well, I did text you to say refreshing to watch a musical that thinks domestic violence is bad. So I do like that part. I mean, I like the whole thing. I should say, like, I enjoyed this movie. I was happy we were watching it. Yeah, I think that it's like insane how many people are in this movie.
It's so insane.
It's a long movie, but it's long because they choose to take their sweet time with every musical number, and it does pay off. Like, I do enjoy how long the musical numbers are. Yeah, and I think that I think they like handle it really well. Like the whole plot line with Nancy and Bill that like I was watching it reflecting on how crazy it is that Oliver is abused by like every system he encounters at every house he's in, but they make it so clear like Sykes is actually evil. Like he's encountered so many people who've been cruel and heartless to him, but like Sykes is an actual sociopath. Like the way that everyone reacts to him to to tell you that he's the real villain is like really effective. And
his introduction, like when he walks in the first time, it's just the shadow coming down the alley. It's incredible.
It's
very Disney villain
in introductions, because Fagin is also introduced. Fagin is like, there's like this steam coming out, and then he like emerges out of the steam. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so cinematic. It's so dramatic. But with the domestic violence thing, I think, yes, Nancy has a song apologizing for him, romanticizing it, that sort of thing. But I feel strongly that both the overall narrative of the show and the fact that she meets her demise is the musical telling you this is the character's perspective. It's not a perspective that the musical is endorsing.
Yes. Totally.
So I think that that's really well handled. And I think...
And unfortunately, like it's a real, I mean... More often than not, I feel like women feel trapped in abusive situations, obviously. And so more often than not end up choosing to stay in the situation because they maybe can't see a way out. Or I think she has that line in the song when she's like, people tell me to leave him and I just like can't, or whatever. It's not that's not the lyrics are better than what the fuck I just came up with. But she's like, people tell me I should like leave him and I won't, because like there is a little bit of, I think she's supposed to be, to me, she feels like a character who's supposed to be like in her late teens, young 20s, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so she's still like kind of in that time. I'm not trying to, I sound like I'm blaming this woman for being abused, by the way. That is not what I'm saying. But I think there is like a level of like, she's at that age where you just like, if someone tells you to do something, you want to do the opposite thing. Cause you're like, no, I know what's best for me. I'm an adult, da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. So I bought that part of her character as well as like an extra and an element. She's so fiery. She's such a feisty character. Like just even apart from like the abuse of it all, like she's so ready to like get into it with people that I really like admire as a character quality. But I can see if in her lyrics when she's like, people tell me to leave him and I can't or I won't. I'm like, well, yeah, I buy that too. I buy her as a character. I don't. She's very sympathetic while not being like.
Weak.
Yes, really weak. Yeah.
Okay, I want to say about Nancy, and I apologize if this repeats something that Adam said. I think you were saying, I caught a fragment of like her not wanting to listen to what other people tell her to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that what's tragic about Nancy is that in some ways that serves her very well. Like she takes society's rules lightly and understands that not everything that society says is wrong and necessarily is, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that allows her to have a lot of freedom and happiness in her life. She's like the only character I can think of in a musical that has a like life is fine number to introduce her. Like she has a like I'm content with this is the thesis of her introduction. So it serves her really well in that like she doesn't judge herself by society's standards necessarily, but it doesn't work in her favor when it comes to the abusive relationship that she convinces herself like that this is another situation where people are wrong to say that this relationship isn't healthy or fulfilling or what, I mean, however they would say it back in Victorian England, but like she actually should listen to that voice in this situation and she should get away from Sykes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RJ, this was your first time?
It was my first time watching the movie. It was very cinematic. It felt like a movie. No, it was really good. I did not expect it to be so serious. I know that's I don't know if that's silly, but I didn't think it was going to be as epic. Like it felt like I was watching Les Mis. Like there was that feeling of like this is like a sweeping arc of a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're only familiar, I would say for myself too, the only Dickens I know are this and A Christmas Carol. And A Christmas Carol, while it does get dark, it's such like about the moral of like, don't be a Scrooge and nobody dies and like, blah, blah, blah. Like death is a fixture of that, but in the way that people here, you acknowledge people have died.
It feels like the Les Mis of like, it's just reiterating the same kind of like moral of like, be kind and like, but because he keeps getting tested.
You know what it felt like to me, honestly? It feels like Pinocchio. Like it's just like a series of adventures that keep happening to this kid. And like he has to, Pinocchio is different because Pinocchio is strayed from the path and he has to like figure out for himself how he's going to like be.
Oliver's just like the subject.
Oliver's kind of like a Mary Sue where he's just kind of like perfect and sweet.
He's a victim of circumstance.
Right.
Yes. Used to introduce you to all of the ills of Victorian society.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. But I really liked it. I mean, the the performances and the musical numbers were a lot more, like cinematic and ornate that I gave the movie credit. Cause I think I just assumed like, oh, it's going to be, like Victorian. So it's just, I don't know, sloggy. Like it was just going to kind of get like gritty, but there's the musical numbers tell a lot of like a great visual story of the different worlds that Oliver like is in. And it just like gets like more and more glamorous as the movie progressed.
I want to say, so I think this is like watching it again. I would not say it's like one of my favorite movie musicals, but I objectively think it's like a really good one. It's like a great one.
Yeah. It doesn't feel rewatchable, but it doesn't feel like, but it's good.
I think like it solves problems. I think really what I'm figuring out is like over time, the best movie musicals I feel like are the ones that kind of solve some of the problems from their stage counterparts.
Yeah.
So like this one, I think like by getting rid of some of the songs, one of my favorite things that the movie does is because they made an efficient decision because I'm sorry, what's his name? Michael Reed is the guy who plays Oliver Reed. I'm sorry. Oliver Reed plays Sykes because he can't sing. They were like, well, we'll just cut your song and that's fine. And I think it's a stronger decision to have Sykes not sing because he feels outside of the different buoyancy of the other characters.
Yeah.
And his presence is so sinister in a way that like Fagin is a villain. Bumble's another villain. Like there's a bunch of villains in this, but like
that feel like in the world, but
and they feel like beatable. They feel like conquerable.
You can outsmart them.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas Sykes is so just rotted.
Sykes feels like a horror villain. Like it really, like there is something very like, I'm trying to remember, like, do we get a lot of like villains in our movie musicals? I feel like we do when it comes to like more family type stories, like Matilda or like the Pete's Dragons. Like we get those like big villains, but
I mean, there's always like antagonists, usually like Judd in Oklahoma, the guy who gives what's his name, the gun in Carousel. He's kind of like the villain more than
right.
God, I never remember his name. Billy Bigelow.
Yeah,
the guy who gives Billy the gun or whatever or the knife. Whatever.
But it's not that it's refreshing, but it's like this guy is just bad. You don't have to learn like, he grew up in the streets. He had a rough life too, blah, 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 blah. It's like, nope, he is deliberately.
But even without doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Exactly,
even without that, like we already know we know his background. Fagin like talks about how he like also like he, at one point it might be the musical and maybe it wasn't in the movie because the movie soundtrack is not available on streaming. It was very annoying because I was listening to it today to try to like, get ready for the pod or whatever, but it wasn't on. So I had to listen to I think I did the original Broadway cast recording from 62. And in it, Fagin has a line where he's like, oh, Dodger's going to be the next Sykes for sure. And it's like, just knowing where the story goes, you're like, oh boy.
Well, and also like, I'm sure that Sykes had a rough upbringing, but you know who else did? Literally every other character.
Everyone else.
Yeah,
like,
Oliver.
And Oliver's still kind.
Yeah, there's no excuse because we know that all these other people also dealt with these terrible systems and they managed to come out of it still being fundamentally kind to people. Yes, many of them are thieves, but that they're thieves in a way that they feel like they're, taking from a system that keeps them down and that they're taking the little bits of excess, right? Like they're not like bankrupting another orphanage or something like that. They're just pickpocketing off rich people in London. So
but I think like overall the reason I think this is so successful is because and I think it's really the musical more so than Oliver Twist to begin with, but like the musical understands that like there has to be some levity in order to like get through the incredible stakes. I mean, this film ends with two of the main characters like getting murdered. Like it's insane where this musical ends, but there is such like, by making Fagin a more, maybe not sympathetic, but likable to some extent character and like giving those scenes where they come in and they sing like they sing with Nancy and Bet, like they like pretend to be the carriage and everything. Like you see the grit on the screen of life as the poor of London, but it is not it is not the squalor that is the Les Mis movie, where it's just like
they're not in the
filth.
gutters. Yeah.
And these are two different films. Les Mis really is not trying to be like, hey, there was some greatness going. I mean, Les Mis really is trying to be like, it's called The Miserables. Okay. But I just think like it makes it so much better to get through. And I think too that the movie is paced really well. Of course, like we're going to have the 1968 complaint of like every scene could be like just tightened a little bit.
Tighten it up. Yeah.
But I think the pacing of the film itself is really good. Like it doesn't really take a long time through any real scene.
Yeah. I expected it to, when I saw it was 2.5 hours, I expected it to feel like it was dragging more than it ended up feeling like it was.
And there's so much happening. There's so much action in this too.
I do also want to say, so you said 2 of the characters are murdered. Sykes is murdered by a crowd, which we've absolutely had in other movie musicals that we've watched. Most recently Brigadoon. But Nancy is just like straight murdered by a person. Is this the first musical we've done where someone is just like straight up murdered by somebody?
Yes. Because Carousel, he kills himself, basically.
And
but character killing another character, I don't think we've had that. Other than Les Mis, the battle, but like that's not the same.
It's like war.
Because musicals, I feel like characters are only killed in a moment of chaos usually. There's like some level of accident deniability. Product of a chaotic situation. But just like a person deciding to kill another person is something that doesn't usually happen in musicals.
It's like Sweeney is like the only one I can really think
I
about.
guess Sweeney, but that's also a very different tone of murder.
That's a genre piece. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this is really good. I was ready to come in and like find fault with it, and I really was like watching it.
Is this the first time you watched it since
I was little?
You watched it for that show?
Probably, yeah.
Adam kept like vocalizing how much he was fascinated by Fagin as like a character, like just like how he was portrayed in this movie, because it is like
so good.
There's like he keeps being like, he's afraid of Bill Sykes, but also like stands up for the kids, right? In some capacity. Like he does want, like feel a sense of ownership of like, we're in it together in some way.
He is like a bit of a coward, but he's like a bad guy. Like, and
he's actively he wants to not do this. Like, he's like, I would love to.
Well, that's the question. Does he? I mean, like, that's why he's so complicated. He's such a he's every production, like the biggest name in the show is Fagin, because I think more than Oliver, because Oliver's always going to be like just some random kid they find who can sing 2 songs or whatever. And
some Adam in
Oliver famously has nothing to do in this musical.
She's kind of just like bright-eyed and just like sees the world.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Every other character is the best character.
I mean, Fagin is like exploiting the children at the same time that he is actually taking care of them.
Yes.
Like, providing them a safe place to be. It seems to be like not a loving home, but like they are happy to be there, basically.
Yes. Right?
Yes. But then he's profiting off of them pickpocketing people and like obviously not giving them like a fair equity in a company or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like they're not, I'm sure that he could provide a better, if he didn't have this box full of jewels, he could provide a better living situation for everybody, right? So he's not doing it out of their best interest, but he treats them well in the process. And like social justice wise, that's almost worse, right? To like make people feel like you're their friend while you're actually exploiting them. But like day to day, obviously I'd rather hang out with Fagin than Sykes, you know?
Yes,
for sure.
I would much rather have at least like a roof over my head. Than nothing.
Yeah. And I do think I really like the way that it clearly sets up that Oliver doesn't understand what's going on until he finally sees them take the wallet. He keeps asking questions. He keeps being like, oh, you make the handkerchiefs. And they're like, yeah, we make the handkerchiefs. Wink, wink, wink. Yeah. And all of that goes over his head, which obviously he's the pure innocent character. So like it makes sense. But I think it like is done so well and so sly, and Fagin and Dodger work so well in this movie together with their like little camaraderie and the little knowing glances they give each other. I don't know. I mean, as a kid, it would make sense why the kids are like, there's like a little bit, he's a little scary, right? He like kind of looks kind of crazy and he's really intense, but he's also really funny. Like he is kind of like just a clown. Like I think it's so funny that Ron Moody said he tried to just create a clown character because like that's what it feels like, really.
The best moment, the moment in this musical that I was like, Ron Moody is a genius, was when in I'd Do Anything, we keep cutting to Fagin in his little room where he does the accounting and has his jewels and stuff like that. And he's like getting progressively more annoyed by them doing the song. And you think it's building to like, he's going to come out and be like, knock it off, kids, like get back to work. And then he like shoots out of the room and he's like doing a little jig and he's upstaging all of them in the
He's making it about himself.
Yeah. He's making it all about himself. It's amazing that he totally subverts your expectations about what you think the character is going to do in that moment. And he's such a fun clown and you just want to like be there dancing with Fagin.
Yeah. The dancing number is so interesting because like when Nancy tries to get Oliver out from Sykes, like to bring back to Brownlow, she does it by starting a dance, like another bar number.
Yes.
To distract.
Which is actually, so in the musical, there's only one bar song. It's Pa. The first bar song that we get in the movie is actually, she comes with Bet to the kids. And that's the song they all sing together.
They danced. Okay.
And then they go into I Can Do Anything. So that's all like with Fagin's gang. Like that's again why we don't see Sykes until Act 2 because the pickpocket is the end of Act 1. When he gets caught is the end of Act 1.
Okay. Yeah.
So then Pa is just a tavern song to open Act 2. Like it has nothing to do with anything.
It doesn't open with the Vendors song
No, the Vendors is like halfway through Act 2. But I think like this is, again, I think the smartness of like fixing problems with, I think, the original show or just making it work better for
the medium.
The medium is like to use that as a visual, like you can story tell that she's starting this song to distract Fagin so she can get him out because of course it's a movie. You're going to be able to do the long chase sequence, the long running, you're going to have this action sequence at the end. So why not like have a better way to get into it other than just like she takes Oliver in the middle of the night, which is what happens in the play, which works on stage. That's fine. But like, it's cooler in this. It's cooler in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also so great the way that they do open because they have an intermission in the movie. And so they do have an Act 2 opener of the Vendor song, which tells you so much about the reversal of Oliver's fortunes that he's gone from workhouse, undertaker, pickpocket, and now all of a sudden he's in this house where people are just walking around outside saying like, hey, anyone want to buy roses and like other beautiful things? Because like everyone around here we know has the expendable cash to just like buy nice stuff. And so I thought it was such a good I was like watching me like, oh, what a smart establishing musical number for like the stakes of Act 2. But I didn't realize it's just a movie decision.
It was my favorite song of the whole. It was my favorite number of the whole movie.
I think it's genuinely brilliant. Like it's a little cheesy, but it does so much with it sets up. It does so much world building, quote unquote. Ugh.
It gives me Small House of Uncle Thomas like that. It just feels like epic in that way. Like the song starts, it feels melancholic. It feels kind of like sad. I don't know. Like there's still something very sad about it, and then like the song switches halfway where it's like, and then it becomes like happy. I don't know. There was a brief moment too where I thought it was going to be a Follies number because there was this one woman selling the roses, and then the milkmaids came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's going to be a Follies number!"
Oliver Follies number
of just women selling things down the street. Who will buy?
Will you buy any milk today, mistress? Any milk today, mistress? Will you buy my sweet red roses? Any milk today, mistress? Who blooms for a penny?
That's why I like think it works so much better as an Act 2 opener because it's so slow that you're almost like, is this sad? And then halfway through the song, it like bounces with life.
Yeah.
Also, you can see people still shuffling into the seats that took a little too long to use the bathroom.
Yes.
You know,
This musical too, and especially I think this movie feels bigger than any British musical I feel like I've seen. Like something about it I was like, did they shoot this in America? Like I thought for a second. They didn't shoot it in the UK because it just feels so big that sometimes British movies seem
tight,
so compact.
Yeah.
And they used an entire lot for this number, which is crazy.
But even the happy switch, it still retains like the dark tone of the like chords of the original song. I'm like, it's so fascinated by it.
It comes out of nowhere and it doesn't feel like anything else in the show. It's so good. Okay. But Consider Yourself is the like socialist, we're all in this together number.
Yeah.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself willing. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got, we share.
Whatever we got, we share.
Yeah. I remember learning this song and not having heard the phrase or like part of the furniture like in this way before and being like fascinated with it as a phrase of like,
I was like, oh,
yes.
He is part of the furniture. What are we?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I like more than when sometimes like, okay, I'm thinking of like Diana the musical, a musical that was not written by a British person. You could tell. I like how British this sounds, but it sounds real and British. It doesn't sound like someone's trying to be like, what would a British person say? You know what I mean? Obviously Matilda didn't have that problem either, but
speaking of Diana, I didn't tell you, but Theo Ubique is doing Diana this season. They are doing Diana the musical at the Cabaret Theater. And it was so funny because I was talking to their managing director and he was like, yeah, we got the rights.
We got Diana.
And people,
we got Diana.
And he was like, people were asking me like, how did you guys get the Midwest premiere of question, Diana?
Not why.
And he was like, what do you mean how? They were just there. No one wanted to do it.
Right.
It was very easy to get.
Oh my gosh.
We paid $1.25.
A cult production. Wow.
So
I would pay to go see it.
But the funny, it's in a tiny cabaret theater.
Tiny cabaret theater.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that's funny as shit.
With the bar right next to you, just.
That's so funny. They're gonna have themed cocktails and everything. It's
yeah, everyone's gonna be dressed in the revenge dress, which we saw.
We went. So Drury Lane Theater is doing the audience, which is the Peter Morgan play that came like right before he did The Crown. It's kind of like how he got the crown, basically. And it's just Elizabeth Queen having conversations with her prime ministers over the years in different scenes. And somebody came and cosplayed as Diana and wore the Diana revenge dress to the show. I mean, it was so funny. I went up to them after the show and I was like, I'm so appreciative that you did this.
The level of thought and
yeah.
I think all of the songs in this are good. I don't think there's one. I think the one from listening to the full soundtrack or for the full original cast recording today, the only songs that I was like annoyed by are the ones that got cut. So I was like, I really lucked out here in this movie. Yeah. But I like that none of them. It doesn't do the Weber thing where it like keeps doing the same motif running through all the same songs, right? Like every song is distinct. Every song is different. Yeah. But they don't feel like they're just it's like purposefully trying to do different things. I don't know how to explain it. I think the music in this is like so big and that's like really enjoyable. From that kind of really classic 50s, 60s era of huge musicals. I
mean, even the first song, like Food, Glorious Food, like you think that the first song would be like a Boy for Sale type where it's just like sad and dreary, like, but because it's like this almost like exciting song of these kids just thinking about food, even though they're like in a very like destitute place. Like, I don't know, like even when it first started, I was kind of like, oh, like if I was not expecting it to be like this could be happy. Like this movie could be happy.
I mean, I think I think Food Glorious Food sets up how the tone of the show is going to be. It's going to be an acknowledgement of the horrors of what they're going through, right? Like you have to reckon with the fact that they are children who are eating one set of gruel a day.
Yeah.
But we're going to like have fun with it, and we're going to like be like, but I bet these kids want to eat like a huge turkey dinner. Right. And then in the window, so you don't get to do this in the stage show. You get to juxtapose it with the guys who are in the office, the big fat guys having like this massive meal while these kids are like starving. I mean, it's like, it goes back to the real like satire that Dickens was doing of like society and being like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing it like this? Yeah. Can we talk about, earlier RJ was talking about the Cellar song. Who will buy? That's the name of the song. And he was like,
I thought you meant
the Cellar. Like,
okay,
no. And in it, this is going to go back to our Nancy conversation, but in his conversation, RJ was saying, or in his statement, he was saying like this, even though it speeds up in the second half of the song, there's still like something about the song that doesn't sound, it's not like in a major key. Like there's something about it that still feels like dissonant and not perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it's smart. I think it's like, it is pointedly the movie, the show, the book, they are all pointedly saying like, it's not that it's better on the other side of the fence either. Right. Like it's thrown in jail because some guy accused him of pickpocketing when he wasn't the one who did it. Like he was like falsely accused, and only because the shopkeeper happened to like show up to save him. Was so it's very pointedly not like, oh, but if you end up on this side of the aisle, like at least everything is going to turn out fine. It might be better, but it's not perfect. Going back to this though, her song,
As Long As
He Needs Me. Thank you. Just listen to the orchestrations. It's not a major key. It's pointedly like fractured. She's walking by these like panes of glass that are all broken. Like I think it is doing overtime to be like, she's not right. She's not correct. She's in a bad place.
As long as he needs me, I know where I must be. I'll cling on steadfastly as long as he needs me. As life is long, I'll love him, right or wrong, and somehow I'll be strong as long as he needs me.
Yeah, it's almost like her voice is like fighting the music underneath. Like she's trying to make it a melody, and the instruments are not.
It's not
willing to do that. Yeah.
I just think I don't know. From what I could hear, it didn't sound like that's in the original orchestration from the original recording. But obviously, in this, they're going to have like a huge symphonic orchestra to do all the backing, so they can add more stuff to it. But I think it's it's showing and not telling. Like, I mean, I guess it's telling because it is sound, but it's like doing an extra level of being like, this isn't going to turn out well for her. There is a little bit of like foreshadowing that
all the elements are telling the story together.
Right.
It's not just like her performance, her having to like walk through and look like she's conflicted, but like giving you the full like experience that it's not.
And I think there's something too about the way she performs the song, where she's like fighting to get it out. Like she wants to be wrong. She's convincing herself that this is the way she's supposed to do this.
She wants to not think this way. But I don't know if it's because she like has to. Like it doesn't, like you were saying, it's not like she's trying to be like, this is my way to survive. There's nothing like that. So like, is it just like love? Like, is it passion?
I don't know, but like, okay, so now that she's in the situation with Sykes though, is there any way that she could really realistically get out of, I mean, she like lives and works at this place that he comes to every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like what would be her real, she never really gets far enough to contemplate trying to leave. Right. But I don't know.
There's also, there's no such thing as upward mobility. I mean, there's no mobility at this time. You're stuck in the station that you are stuck in.
That's why she wants to fight so hard for Oliver to do it, because Oliver does not have to belong in this world. Like he is not here. She fights so hard for him. Like he's already gone. That was like the biggest thing that I heard, that I kept being like, Bill Sykes, like Sykes and Fagin are making it worse by like obsessing over like we have to get Oliver back, because like I mean we know as the audience, just let him go. Just
let him go.
Yeah.
I guess maybe eventually he'll like say like, oh yeah, I was with all these pickpockets and they were like in this house. It seems like they just like leave the house that they live in and like pick another place as a safe house, and like they'd probably be good. Like what other information does he have to get them caught necessarily?
But it was weird because like when the mob was coming after, like at the end, like they all knew of Bill Sykes, or like people knew of Bill Sykes.
Know Bill Sykes.
I think that's supposed to be other people that are like of the underworld, and Oliver is like with the upper class now. Yeah.
But I think too, the other thing is like so Fagin is what is called a fence. So he is the go-between. So the idea is that Sykes steals the goods. He gives them to Fagin to then resell, so that there is like a clear like, oh, I don't know where I got these from. He can like plausibly say he's not the one. If he gets caught, if Sykes
the crime can still happen.
Right. And even if they say, oh, these candelabras, where did you get them from? He'll be like, oh, I don't know. I just like got
I'm just
them
selling
blah, blah, blah.
them.
I'm just selling them.
So
they were sold to me.
Is the pickpocket troop like the dancing pickpocketing kids, like that's just like another,
it's just another it's a lower,
but like Sykes is doing like the big job.
I think so.
But I think that too, it's more that like the kids they're just training the kids to get better one day.
Totally.
To one day be able to do the big jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, does it suck that there's really only one female character in this whole movie? Yeah, that's a real bummer.
What's crazy? I always thought that As Long as He Needs Me was about Oliver. Just like the song. Okay. So has that changed? Like, have there been portrayals where it has become about like, so she wants to do right?
In Act 2 in the show, she has a reprise, and she alludes to "He also needs me." Meaning Oliver.
Okay.
And I think the Act 2 reprise is maybe the one big thing I'm missing. I think the movie's like fine, pretty much perfect as it is. I don't think it really has any problems. But like the reprise is the true like 11 o'clock moment, because she gets to just like belt her face off.
That is nice.
I see. Okay.
I'll just play the end.
I am looking at this 94 cast recording, and this L,
it's a problem.
This nose, this is a big problem. Whoa, Cameron McIntosh, what were you thinking?
Yep.
Boy.
So I guess that's the only thing I'm missing. But even in that, her thing is that at the end of the show, she's still committed to, I think maybe because it's a mix of like her being raised in Fagin's gang to begin with, she is not going to rat out everyone else.
Right.
The only thing she wants to do is just get Oliver out of the situation.
Yeah.
And then she wants just everything to go back to the way it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she starts the show being like,
it's not so bad here in this brothel, is the title of the
song. Her song Oliver movie.
No, and not Papa.
Yeah, the first one.
No, the first one.
I do anything. It says I do anything.
No, it's
you've got to pick. It's a fine life.
It's a fine life. It's a fine life.
It's a fine life.
Yeah, she starts the show being like, yeah, listen, is it great? No. Is it a little bit harder? Sure. But you know what? We make do, we get by. very British in that way.
Yeah. Did you say you said something about Shirley Bassey?
Yes. So the director originally, I guess, wanted Shirley Bassey to play Nancy in the film, but was convinced that the public was not ready for a black Nancy yet. So that's why she did not get the role. Which
is crazy because that's arguably one of the voices of like
the 20th century.
Yeah.
Molly doesn't even know who Shirley Bassey is.
I don't know who Shirley Bassey is.
Diamonds are forever.
Oh,
She did all of the Bond themes.
A lot
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's listen to what Molly and I are obviously talking about ages ago now at this point. Reviewing the situation.
I'm reviewing the situation. I must quickly look up everyone I know. Titled people with a station who can help me make a real impressive show. I will own a suite at Claridge's and run a fleet of carriages and wave at all the duchesses with friendliness as much as is befitting of my new estate. Good morrow to you, magistrate! I think I better think it out again.
Ugh. Taviati, honey.
And apparently in the original, because obviously he was in the original West End cast, he said that he did a more stereotypical Jewish accent in the show than he ended up doing for the movie.
It's still coming through, especially in the song.
But
more so
the stereotypical Jewish accent obviously only came about when scores of Eastern European Jews were fleeing from like what Russia was doing, basically. Yeah. So
pogroms,
that really wouldn't have even come at this time. This is like 1830, whatever. This is the 1830s. An accent wouldn't have existed in London at that point. So that's why he said he tried to change a little bit. But I think it comes out a little bit in this song. But it's all part and parcel with this choice that they've made for this character for this iteration of
it's just like
story.
It's such a good song, but it's also such a problematic song. It's like, I don't even know how to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. Yes, it is. And it's also like, it's weird being a non-Jewish person talking about something that like it's a Jewish creator and a Jewish performer have like obviously collaborated on and felt confident in like putting on screen.
I think it feels uncomfortable because the discussion of social justice was at such a different place in the 60s. Obviously it existed, but like, I don't know that like, I want their opinions about it from a today perspective, and I'm not going to get their opinions about it from a today perspective. I think is why it feels uncomfortable. Yeah.
So if you want a song where we can really celebrate how good he is, I'm not going to pick a pocket. I'm not going to pick a pocket or two, although that's also a great song. I really like Be Back Soon, which is kind of his like, I'm the Pied Piper to all these kids and he's sending them off on their day. I think, again, this is like one of the things that makes him so likable is it feels like of course, yes, he's exploiting the kids, but he also seems to care about them coming home that day. Is there a financial investment for them coming home for him? For sure. But does it also feel like maybe there's more to it than that? Yes. That's why I think he's so complicated and like why I think the performance is so interesting and fascinating.
Cheerio, but be back soon. Unannounced now I miss you. I love you, that's why I say cheerio, not goodbye. Don't be gone long, be back soon. Give me one long last look, bless you. Remember our old tune. Be back soon. You can go, but be
He's like a nanny.
It is. It's there's a Mary Poppins ilk to this.
Madeline, in a line of two, this line of one, but still it's very that sort of energy of how he's treating the kids. And and also he feels kind of childlike, I think is also part of what makes it work.
Yeah.
You buy that he's having fun with them.
Well, he still like makes an effort to also like when he does confront Sykes, even though like he's afraid of him, he still like is always insistent to being like no violence. Like he so there is some
he has some sort of code
and guarding that he's trying to do.
Well, I really like the scene. I mean, there's the scene where the first time we see Sykes slap Nancy or hit Nancy, he like doesn't intervene. He doesn't come to Nancy's aid, right? Like, this is how we know he's a cowardly character. But there's the point later when they've brought Oliver back and Sykes is threatening like to do more to Oliver. Nancy stands up again to Sykes being like, you won't do that. You'll kill me before you do it to him. Da, 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 da. And Fagin then jumps in and is like, oh, Nancy, you're so funny. What a good joke you had today. Ha ha ha. Yes. And like, I think like that is also so telling of his character to be like, I'll use humor as a way to like get out of
de-escalate.
Like, de-escalate situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So like then at the end, this is our second musical in a row that the couple that gets together is like a parent-child pair, basically. And so Dodger goes off with him, and I'm certainly not sad. I'm like kind of happy that they're going to have each other. It's like Fagin truly loves running a criminal network, and Artful Dodger truly loves picking pockets, and they're like a match made in heaven. But it's interesting knowing that line, Adam, that you talked about, and maybe it happened in the movie and I missed it, or maybe it was cut from the movie version of Fagin saying something about Dodger becoming Sykes one day. I feel like that leaves me with a sense of like unease about, okay, Artful Dodger seems extremely nonviolent and just like he enjoys the thrill of the pickpocket, right? He's a kid, but like, am I supposed to feel a little bit of like, I don't know, if this kid stays in this world, will he inevitably become a monster himself?
Yeah. I think that's like so obviously the book, Dodger gets sent off to the penal colony. Fagin is hung. In the musical, they do not end up together. Fagin just walks toward the sunset at the end of the show, but he is alone. And he's still ruminating on his decision of what to do because he has his reprise of reviewing the situation. In this one, it does feel like I wouldn't necessarily say they wanted to end on a happy note, but more of a lighter ending, I would say, even than the show, is having them dance off together into the sunset, which it's really the sunrise. But I kind of think it's really, if I sat and thought about it, I'd be like, oh boy, this isn't great. But I do.
It feels like
they should be together.
It feels like the two comical sidekicks of the villain are like, oh, we can just do it on our own. We don't need like a Sykes to like scare us. And so they kind of like go off on their own mischief.
Yeah. If at the end of The Lion King, all the hyenas just like went off and had like their own adventure separately from Scar. Like, great.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate
Pain
that.
and Panic left
Hades.
just to have their own sitcom.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels.
Yeah. Because I think too, by making Fagin, especially the kids, by making it just like, oh, they just pickpocket like mostly handkerchiefs. They try to get some wallets, but like it's a lot of handkerchiefs, guys.
Yeah.
I think like making it so low stakes as that makes it feel the audience be like, okay, well,
petty crimes.
Yeah.
But like,
there's always going to be people doing petty crime. I guess it might as well be these cute
kids.
Little street urchins.
Yeah. who are just trying to survive.
Well, I feel like it would be remiss for us to not just have a quick discussion about this performance.
I guess we should talk about Oliver now.
So I will play Where Is Love?
And then we'll play my version when I was little singing this.
No, we won't.
Adam did a pretty good impression of me when we were watching that.
Where is love? Does it fall from skies above? Is it underneath the willow tree that I've been dreaming of? Where is she who I close my eyes to see? Will I ever know the sweet hello that's meant for only me? Who can say where she
Not to get sappy, but truly how incredibly heartbreaking to have your orphan main character have never even experienced the idea of love before. I mean, like, also, I don't know if you clocked this, but in the workhouse on the wall was a huge sign that said God is love. So I think there is like something, at least the movie is doing by being like, yeah, but you got to feel more than that. There's got to be something tangible. There has to be a real presence you feel in your life for that. You can't just be like, God loves me, slay king.
Yeah.
Literal king of all kings, Lord of all lords.
Christ the Redeemer.
You gotta like have, and of course this is a wishing song where he doesn't actually end up getting what he wants, right? He wants his mother and he's never going to get that.
Yeah.
But in the end, he does discover like the love of family.
Yeah.
Which I think is really beautiful. I mean, what is it about, especially musicals, but I think like often children's literature, although I wouldn't say Oliver Twist is specifically children's literature, obviously. Why are there so many orphans? Is it because it's just the fastest way for people to feel empathy for a character? Is just be like, they're a kid who has no parents.
Who has no parents.
We talked about this when I did a workshop with the guy who founded the House Theater in college. He talked about how having your character be an orphan, like, immediately sets up this longing for home and this reason for a journey. And it also like allows them to not have ties. Like they can kind of become anything because
like a blank slate.
They're kind of a blank slate. Yeah. And give an excuse for if you have like a young protagonist for them to be like out taking risks that usually a child would not be doing if they had a mother to say like, no, you're not doing that.
Do that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the most compelling one is this like setting up for the need for home. That's like the central driving force then for your character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you actually have a recording of RJ singing it? I feel like I'm speaking to listeners when I say that we need to. Okay.
No, but this was pretty much it. It was just
okay. It was exactly that.
It was basically that. Where is love?
Beautiful.
What grade were you in? You were in elementary school?
Yeah.
So it was in the Philippines?
Yes. Somewhere of fourth or fifth.
Okay.
Wow.
I think
10, 11.
Wow.
10, 11.
That's what age Oliver is.
And the only thing I remember from this class was that it was on Fridays. It was during the summer. So it was like on Fridays at like 1 or 2. And I was so upset because they would show live via satellite Survivor because around that time, Friday afternoon is when Survivor would be playing in America. And I would just be so angry because I'm like, I don't know what happened in Survivor as a little 11-year-old.
I wish you had been an orphan.
And I think that's why
I wish you had been in a workhouse.
I think that's why my mom was like, girl, you're not sitting watching Survivor in the damn summer. Okay?
You're singing Where Is Love.
Where Is Love. I'm
singing it.
putting it to work.
Sing for your supper.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked in and around and all the way through it. So we've really deduced that this is a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's definitely, I don't think I'm going to like, RJ was saying it's not that rewatchable. I don't think I'm going to like watch it again next year or anything, but I think it will be on my list of like movies that I want to show my kids one day to introduce them to classic musical theater.
Yeah.
Obviously when they're at an age where they won't be too upset by the murder part, but like, I think it's a good essential movie musical in the like My Fair Lady kind of Sound of Music category.
Yeah. And all three of them won Best Picture. So there you go. I guess they got it right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. All right. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a 90% and it is certified fresh. This probably isn't that surprising since it won Best Picture. I have a couple reviews here. First, we have Roger Ebert's 1968 review, which is very exciting. He says the basis of its success, perhaps, is that Reed took a long look at the character of Oliver Twist. The problem with Oliver is that he isn't really very interesting, is he? He's a young, noble, naive lad whose main duty in Dickens' novel is to stand about while a marvelous collection of heroes and villains struggle over his destiny. The weakness in the stage musical Oliver, and even in David Lean's film Oliver Twist from 1948, was that they made too much of Oliver and didn't quite know what to do with him. Reed does. He establishes Oliver as a bright, attractive young boy, gives him some scenes so we get to care about him and admire his pluck, and then focus his movie on the characters who are really interesting: Fagin, Bill Sykes, the Artful Dodger, and Nancy. The movie belongs so much to Fagin and the Dodger, in fact, that when we see them marching down the road in their last scene, we think the movie should stop right there instead of giving us a final look at Oliver. Still, Oliver is well acted by Mark Lester, who played the youngest boy in Jack Clayton's Our Mother's House. In this review, Roger Ebert also goes on to talk about how this was a roadshow picture and his frustrations with roadshow pictures at the time that he had talked about. And it was like, because it takes so long to build word of mouth, like you might miss out on it because it's not, they're using the movie itself to just do its own marketing as it travels around instead of like marketing it correctly. But this is when the roadshow picture is kind of on it starts its decline at this point. I would say this is late 60s is really when it starts falling off a cliff. And then Charles Champlin from the LA Times writes, there are some minor flaws, good as the production numbers are, and probably because everybody realized how well they were working. A couple of them go on for at least a couple of choruses too long and leave feelings not of fulfillment, but of satiety.
Satiety? They're satiated?
Yeah, satiated. Satiety?
Satiety could be it.
Satiety.
It could be satiety. And while nobody expects Oliver himself to sing like anything but a young boy, his quavering hesitancy does set up a slight nervousness in the listener fairly quickly. Still, these are minor quibbles with a fine and satisfying movie which vibrates with life. It offers a good deal of merriment and a lot of suspense. I don't know what Ron Moody will do for an encore, but his Fagin is a wry, sly pleasure to watch, one of the great entertaining performances. That is how he ends the review, is by talking about how good Ron Moody is. And it makes sense because every review I looked at was like, I mean, this man absolutely slapped at this film. Like it's crazy. It's so, it's such
anyone have any other opinion.
Incredible performance that you just don't expect from like, story wise, like not the main character, not the main villain, not the love interest, right? Like he's kind of like the fourth in terms of like character wise, but it's good. And then on Letterboxd, we have some reviews from the people. Fran Hefner gave it 3.5 stars and says, made me want to commit petty theft. Emma Skiro Gurney gave it 5 stars and says, don't kid yourself. The Who Will Buy scene is probably one of the greatest ever made. Sam Cohn gave it 3 stars and said, attention de pickpocket, attention. And Dermot Arnold gave it 2.5 stars and said, Oliver is the golden standard for annoying child actor. And I only picked this because that is incorrect. There are so many other films that I would think of before this movie to be like annoying child actor.
Is he saying this performance in this movie is an annoying child actor? Or is he saying this musical is a perfect vehicle for any annoying child actor?
I thought he was saying this is what I think of when I think of annoying child actors, as I think of Oliver. But maybe he's saying like this is what you should be aiming for because there's not really any annoying performances.
I thought he was just saying like the musical Oliver has a great role for an annoying child actor, but not necessarily this performance is annoying.
This is Hamlet for annoying child actors.
Basically,
Well, Dermot Arnold, if you are listening to this is 9 years after you've written this review on Letterboxd. You were an early adopter of the platform.
Yes, I think beta tester.
But we do want you to expound on this. So if you can go back and edit this review,
that's Showgays.
I would like you to email us personally.
Just email us. Showgays Music.
We'll read it aloud.
Okay, I'm gonna go first for the MVP, and I'm gonna pick Fagin. I'm picking Ron Moody. He kind of absolutely ate this role up. He left, as they say, absolutely no crumbs.
I don't like this. I don't like this character. I'm not into this.
I kind of. There's not even anything that could have ever been said about this performance has already been said. There's nothing really else that I can add to the discourse other than just like. This is like incredibly magical. Molly. MVP.
Yeah, you can be next. So I get to pick Jack Wilde, who plays the Artful Dodger. Delightful, energetic. Loved every scene he was in. Just pure good acting. And I do have a compelling runner-up, but I want to see first if RJ picks him. And if he doesn't, then I'll shout him out.
Okay. I will pick Shani Wallace, who plays Nancy. Even though there was a little bit of like a, oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. We just watched her in All That Jazz. She was,
Anne Reinking.
Thank you. Anne Reinking, Annie energy, where it's like, there's a little bit of a stiltedness in the performance, but like it does work for some reason. Like there's a little bit of a presentational feeling of the portrayal, but it like works for me. And I do think that she does a really good job of playing how complicated the feelings are for Sykes without feeling like it doesn't make me feel sweaty. Like I don't feel like she's like trying to defend him. Like she really is conflicted about this relationship.
And she's also not like pitiful, you know?
No, not at all. She like basically like holds court in that bar. Like she is someone that like they all, I don't know if respect is the right word, but they all like, she's foundational in that bar.
Yeah.
For as many
and for the kids
musicals of this era that have the most two-dimensional female characters, this really feels like a real person.
Yeah.
And especially
they
this
did one woman, but they did her well.
Yes. If it had to be one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a runner-up shout out to Oliver Reed, who I feel like, Adam, you kind of implied got the role because of nepotism.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to. Yeah. So he did audition for the role. The producer actually suggested him not knowing that he was his nephew to the director. He was I saw this guy in the show, blah, blah, blah. He was kind of slightly on the incline at this point. He hadn't really taken off yet. And so the producer was like, oh, I know this guy. And that's when they found out. They were like, oh, but they did make him audition multiple times.
But he was a stage actor like at the time?
No, he started he was filmed. Yeah.
I would like to point out that the headline of his Wikipedia is he's an English actor known for his upper middle class macho image and Hellraiser lifestyle and heavy drinking. So I feel like this is like a Robert Downey Jr. kind of the time.
Oh.
And I felt like this guy was bringing Marlon Brando level of I get the appeal kind of energy to the screen. Like, he's a bad guy, but like I don't not understand why Nancy feels compelled by him.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So can't sing, but like I'm okay with him being in the role. And as you said, like it kind of worked to not have him have a song anyway.
Yeah.
But like I'm not mad at them going based on charisma and acting rather than someone who could do like all the musical elements of the role. And he is so convincingly evil.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's not
a presence.
He is bigger than Fagin. He is larger than Fagin, but he's not like they found a giant man.
Yeah, he's not like
play
the
him,
Penguin.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Like he doesn't have, like he wears this hat. He has this really intimidating kind of silhouette, but he's not at first glance just like, oh, he's scary because he's so big.
Yes, it's like aura.
There is an acting thing going on.
Yeah.
Apparently he was always in character on set. He method acted his way through this.
Oh no,
So
the kids
were very scared.
Oh, so not
opposite Emma.
yes, opposite Emma. He was not hugging the kids after each take.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the director didn't have to tell him his nephew that he gave the role to be mean to the kids in between takes. He was already doing it. But he doesn't really have that many. He has like 2 scenes with all the kids.
Yeah, he's
together.
not really. He's mostly just with Fagin and Nancy, I feel like.
Yeah.
But he was dragging that little Oliver all around. Like that last scene, Oliver is a rag doll, honey.
Yeah.
He's just throwing him up that banister, like tie this up there.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah. And it really reminded me of Michael Jackson holding a blanket over his eyes, which makes me think maybe he was alluding to who the allegedly we don't know anything.
We're gonna get an email from the estate.
We're not. Unless Lucas works for the estate, maybe we will.
Lucas actually is the lawyer.
He's the estate attorney for the Michael Jackson estate.
Lucas works for the Michael Jackson estate and Disney and like a bunch of other places.
Yes.
Just like waiting for us to say something illegal.
Molly, do you have a close this week?
What do you expect of me in this situation? I mean, like what?
I expect you to review the situation.
Oh.
I can't think of a good closer for Oliver. I'm sorry, everyone. I've been trying, and I just like can't. Out of like another Dickens novel that should be a musical. Like I don't know.
I don't even know.
I couldn't name you another
Nicholas Nickleby. There you go.
You know,
Tale of Two Cities.
I guess we'll just go for and I guess we'll have to get into the problematic elements, but like who should be Fagin if we're remaking this? If we're remaking this musical.
Oof. How could you even? Yeah.
Who are we casting? Is that who you're saying?
Who are we going to cast as Fagin in a remake of Oliver?
So Encores did it in New York at the New York City Center last year, and it was Raul Esparza.
I was about to say, Raul would be a good one.
But if I'm thinking,
or give me what's his name? Phantom. What's his name?
Gerard Butler?
No. Oh my God, what is his name?
Wilson, Patrick Wilson.
No, the other Phantom that was on Broadway, and he did.
He's like 80 now.
No. Like he did the bit with Cal Settle. What is his name?
Hugh Jackman?
No. Oh my God, what is his name? It starts with an R. Ramin Karimloo. Ramin Karimloo. Ramin.
I don't know that guy, but okay.
Karimloo.
But I think like a Phantom energy.
No, I think both of those people are. I listen. I love Laurel Esparza. Saw him at Provincetown. But I want like a little wiry man.
I'm going to say, I don't know if he's Jewish. I don't know if we should cast a Jewish person. That's obviously complicated. I'm doing a quick scan of the Wikipedia page to see what happens to mention. I don't know, but Mike Feist, who played...
Oh!
That's interesting. Challengers.
In Challengers, but also West Side Story, the white guy who snaps.
Yes.
Snapper,
The Snapper in West Side Story. I think he's got that wiry, energetic approach. Was he also... Dear Evan Hansen, or am I confusing him with? He wasn't also the guy in Dear Evan Hansen, right? Yes, he was.
He was in
the Broadway.
He was in the Broadway.
That's why I'm thinking last. Yeah.
Mike Feist is good.
Mike Feist is good. I'm trying to think of someone who's...
Twonka? No Twonka?
I'm not entertaining Twonka.
No, that's insane.
We've been bullied into watching the movie. I'm not going to also...
I'm not also casting him in everything.
At gunpoint to force us to watch Twonka. Honestly, the amount of times we brought this up, I'm still shocked that my mom has not asked me what twink is.
I think she knows, Adam. You got to give Nan some credit.
Some credit.
She gave birth to one. I think she...
Thank you. Thank you. God, I don't know. Who would I cast as Fagin? Ooh. You know who would probably just be good generally? What's the guy who played Beetlejuice?
Oh, Alex Brightman.
Alex Brighton in
Brightman.
In the Broadway version.
Yeah.
He's like
School of Rock.
Okay, yeah. Solid choice.
Yeah. He would be good. He also might be Jewish. Not sure. But if I'm going with like celeb,
John
are there
Mulaney.
funny men anymore? Oh God, no. John Mulaney. No.
No. Bugs Bunny.
Alex Brightman is Jewish. Good job.
Hey. Wow. Brightman. That's all I got. I got Alex Brightman. That's all I got. So
we need more energetic young, or not actually young. Actors. We need energetic character actors, because I feel like Fagin could be like a lot of different ages. Actually, is kind of one of the beauties of the role.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Wait, did RJ answer?
I didn't, but I can't think of anyone.
I thought you did.
I just agreed with Mike Feist.
Oh.
You can't take it. You can't take mine.
You can't take it with you.
I mean, obviously, you want to do
He needs me.
Just say Aaron Tveit and let us move on with our lives.
Adrian Brody.
Oh.
Adam's pointing at Daniel Radcliffe.
I'm pointing at Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, that would be
weird
good.
actor.
That could work.
Junior loves
yeah.
a weird role.
And he's
Yeah.
Jewish.
Is
That
he?
could work.
He is Jewish, yes.
Okay. I actually love that.
Let's go with that.
Andrew Garfield, also Jewish.
Okay.
I'm just pulled up a list of Jewish,
Did you just look
famous
up
Jewish actors.
Paul
Yeah.
Rudd?
Paul Rudd, yeah. How about Mel Brooks? Let's get Mel Brooks.
Let's get him back out there, honey.
I mean,
99
he
years old.
something with it, I'm sure.
I'm
Gene
sure.
Wilder. Gene Wilder.
You know who'd be very dropped into the role? Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, he would do the
Oh,
work.
whatever. Do you know what I do think? I think I would love for them to remake Oliver. They're going to have to contend with the anti-Semitism thing. And I think putting Mel Brooks in a bit role somewhere in there would be one way to really get into it, you know?
I feel like you put Mel Brooks in and then people are like, well, I can't argue now. I mean, it's Mel Brooks. What am I going to do? Say Mel Brooks can't do Fagin?
Right.
How dare you?
He can't
actually-
reclaim Fagin?
You know what? That is actually the only right answer I've decided is Mel
I
Brooks.
think so,
To
yeah.
do it.
It's Mel Brooks at 99 years old.
When one day, God forbid, Mel Brooks is no longer with us, no one can do Fagin anymore because it was a role that only
It'll be
he
done.
It was
meant
so
to play.
iconic. Yeah.
It'll be the
It's
end
gonna
of
be
the
a
era
real.
of Fagin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I've had so many times recently where we've watched one of these and I've been like, I should go back and read the book. I should read the book that this is based
You
on.
want to read Oliver Twist?
No, I
Not
don't
doing
want to
it.
read this. I like was like
No.
watching this and I was like, I think I got it.
I think I got the gist.
I think I really understood.
I
I do a Spark Notes to get the full context of all the
Yeah.
other characters that are missing, but
I have read Christmas Carol and enjoyed it. It's obviously a lot shorter than any
A
other
lot shorter.
Dickens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and I read Tale of Two Cities in high school.
Well, yeah, because it's about St. Paul.
it's about Twin Cities.
You need to know the history of your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
local
Tell
flavor.
me what is Tale of Two Cities actually about? Can you tell me?
The French
Do you know?
Revolution.
Okay, thank you. Great. Well, at least you know something. So
And I only learned that on this podcast.
You told us.
Because you told us. Because you're a teacher, Molly. You're an educator.
I'm an
You're a
educator.
teacher. Yeah.
I feel like Oliver Twist is probably the next best known Dickens. So
I mean, what are
I'm
the other
not
ones?
committing to it right now, but I feel like it's not impossible that I could read it and enjoy it. It's like Oliver Twist with
Sure.
Great Expectations, maybe. I feel like
Oh, Great Expectations.
I feel like
Copperfield.
David Copperfield. I feel like
The
trying
Pickwick
a real
Papers.
Dickens is a real retirement goal kind of thing. You know what I mean? When you're like, what else am I going to do with my time? Let's try reading some Dickens.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
want to
I
seem like you're somebody,
I did not realize Mystery of Edwin Drood was a Dickens. That's
I don't know
a
what
musical.
that is. Oh.
Nicholas Nickleby, Pickwick Papers. I'm just pointing out ones that I know.
I don't know what happens
I've
in
heard
Nicholas
of.
Nickleby, but it always makes me think of I think Dr. Seuss story where he has a lot of hats because that guy also has a funny
There's
name.
hats for sale. That's
a classic Dickens book, Caps for Sale.
But do you know what I mean? The guy, Bartholomew Cubbins, I think is the guy with a lot of hats. It's like a children's book. Hold on. Bartholomew.
That he wrote a lot of books that I've never heard of. I'm looking at the full list right now. He wrote a book called The Haunted House.
Slay.
Like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board on that title, sir.
There is a Dr. Seuss book called The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. And the point is that because I don't know what Nicholas Nickleby is about, I just imagine a guy with a lot of hats on whenever I hear the title.
I'm shocked that David Copperfield is in a musical. I feel like
I'm sure there's a musical version of it. It's probably just not good.
not good. Yeah.
Our Mutual Friend, by the way, is his final book that has that Jewish character. And Nicholas Nickleby is the one he wrote right after Oliver Twist.
Okay.
Oliver.
All right, well, that's enough. And so now I'm going to take it away. As long as he needs me.
I know where I must be. I'll cling on steadfastly. I'm reading the lyrics. As long as he needs me.
Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
This is no Mickey Mouse school. You're not getting off easy because you're talented. You work twice as hard. Now, I don't care how well you dance or how cute you are or how many colored tutus you have. If you don't give your academic subjects equal time, you're out.
For Coco, it's the stardom. For Ralph, it's a chance. For Leroy, it's survival. For Lisa, it's the dance.
Bruno, this is our big chance, man. Don't you want success?
They've got nothing in common but a dream.
So you want to be an actor, huh?
Yeah, sure I want to be an actor. Judy.
A dream that one day, the whole world will know their name.
Because I'm gonna be a dancer. A good dancer. You know who says so? Me.
A dream of fame.
I'm gonna live forever. Baby, remember my name.
Fame. It's the dream of instant success.
I'll have $20,000 a week. I'll have a hit TV series. I'll have my face on the cover of TV Guide.
And the constant reminder of failure.
I don't think you'll ever be good enough, Lisa.
But I don't know what I'll do if I can't dance. When I'm down and feeling blue.
It's dedication
Dance is not a way of getting through school. It's a way of life.
and frustration. It's stage fright
Memories.
and opening nights.
Kids are into sex a lot earlier in the South Bronx. Like about 6 a.m.
If I ask you to hold me tight
It's love.
through a cold, dark night.
It's pain.
All anyone ever promised you was 7 classes a day and a hot lunch.
It's contagious.
You want to know what's happened to me, man? Success, all right? Now you either hang on or you hang up.
It's outrageous. It'll change your name.
I'm becoming an actress.
But I want you to be the Doris that I know.
It'll change your life.
I'll pay my dues on the West Coast. Come back to New York as a star.
If they've really got what it takes, it's going to take everything they've got. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents an Alan Parker film. Fame.
Discovering voices. Building worlds. The Ampliverse.